Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are we all doing this fine day? Feels like about 5 minutes ago since I was last here, but good morning to everyone. Let me have a look. Let's have a look. Jim Turner is already guessing our mystery machine, which I haven't even shown him yet. Gary Muirhead is here as well. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, guys. Almost Friday and the weekend. Yeah, I do need to check with my social secretary, i.e., my wife, but I may well be doing a Saturday social this week. And Steve Williamson says, "What does it say on your T-shirt?" There you are. I would like to apologise to anyone I haven't offended yet. Please be patient. I will get to you shortly. That's what Gary Muirhead. Thanks, Gary. It's pretty much me all over, to be honest. Morning all, says Steve Williamson. Bloody jinxed myself saying I'll get finished early yesterday to watch the Volvo show. Typical. Pouring concrete till half 8 yesterday. Gutted I missed it. Obviously, you can watch it on catch up. You did get a mention in dispatches as it's happened, Steve. So go check it out. You do get a mention. Steve is also guessing the mystery machine. No, not yet. It's not one of those, and it's not yet. Dan Culler is saying the mystery machine, the battle is on. It most certainly is on. It's getting very, very tight at the top of the league table. So please be aware that today's one is going to be, if you know, it's one of those, if you know it, and you will be able to answer it very, very quickly. It is going to be literally a fastest finger first. Gary Muirhead is also guessing the O&K RH120C. It's not one of those. It doesn't look anything like that. And Ken Hatcher is here as well. Good morning. And I can tell you that our special guest for today, Mr. David Wylie, is lurking in the background. I will be getting to him very, very shortly. But I want to play you a thing because I want to get your take on it, basically. Let me get to where I need to be. There we are. So yesterday I was listening to the Reconstruction podcast over on Construction Index. Heard my old mate David Taylor talking about breakdowns allegedly caused by AdBlue. Now, David is talking specifically about mobile cranes in this instance, but I wondered if there'd been any other earth-moving machine failures attributed directly or otherwise to AdBlue. I'd like to play you this. It's only about a minute long, and then we'll get your take on it afterwards. So here we go.
Crane hirers complaining about machinery malfunctions caused by diesel additives, in fact, AdBlue, causing breakdowns in mobile cranes particularly. And I thought this was very interesting because I was rather late to this because I drove a petrol car, didn't drive a diesel car, and I never had to put AdBlue into a vehicle until I bought a camper van, and then I had to put it in. And I thought, what a faff. And this stuff is disgusting. I mean, anybody who's had to pour AdBlue into that little spout next to their diesel tank will know that if you spill it, it's horrible. It stains your paint. It gets all over your clothes. Really nasty stuff. And you've got to keep topping up this little tank. And if you don't, you get dire warnings that your vehicle will actually stop dead and won't run. And I think this is probably what's been happening with these mobile cranes, that they've been either conking out or in some other way, sort of lack of power or something like that, failing to perform.
So, has anybody had any experience of issues with AdBlue? I mean, I'm not entirely sure I would ever describe it as disgusting. And, the one thing that strikes me about AdBlue is the fact that we kind of got led down the garden path. I don't remember thinking to myself, yes, AdBlue, that'll be okay. It's an additive. You have to add it to your fuel. So effectively, it's another job for you to do. But you also have to pay. It's not, compared to diesel, it's not a huge amount. But we kind of woke up one day and thought, hang on a minute, we're paying, not only are we paying top dollar for our diesel, we're now having to pay for this as well. Anybody had any experience of that? Steve Williamson says, I've had an AdBlue pump changed in the last machine. Another machine I've had, the lines burst and sprayed AdBlue everywhere. Because the lines come with a heated wire that runs through. It's not on the shelf, was a week downtime. Indeed. Keep your AdBlue clean and in the dark, says Ken Hatcher. Yeah, keep it in the dark, like my wife does to me, possibly. Dan Cullen says, what happens to AdBlue if it doesn't reach proper temperature on machines? Needs to be flat out as it crystallizes. Does it do that? AdBlue has caused no end of issues on machines. keep those coming. Keep those coming. I'd like to hear more from you. But as I say, we do have a guest today, so I'm going to crack on with the show. We'll revisit that in just a second. But let's get the show started. It is Thursday, the 11th of July. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, the Walrus of Demolition. In today's show, is this super long front-end Hitachi hot or not? Liebherr ensures full buckets, rolling out the 6,000th Cat D11, and Sunward unveiled a hot prototype at Hillhead 2024. Plus, in just a minute or so, we're going to be joined by today's special guest, journalist, author, and big digger enthusiast, Mr. David Wylie. But before all that, we do have the small matter of today's mystery machine to decipher. So, Andy Darvell has just joined us and says AdBlue has caused no end of issues on machines. He also says it crystallizes and buggers things up. Very technical of me, I know, but it's rubbish stuff, he says. Apparently, AdBlue doesn't need to be covered now. I've never had an issue with the AdBlue itself. Okay, Chris Ford says had to spend $6,000 on an AdBlue system for on an old, a 6-year-old lorry, rather. Fortunately, machines haven't been too bad, only one or two minor issues, but there will be a day when the shift shit hits the fan. Dan Cullen says cranes do a lot of techie over. They certainly do. There are two different types of AdBlue. Heavier as one is lighter. You get a heavier type for plant. On Volvo, Doosan's best knock the auto idler off for 2 hours and hammer. Well, there you are. Mick says, and Morial had some interesting comments from the old boys about the show yesterday. In fact, a couple of them are going to start watching. Well, they are welcome if they do. Revs out, so a mechanic always... Revs out, so a mechanic always said. Not entirely sure what that means. And Jim Turner says AdBlue is UV sensitive. Corrosive, needs to be kept away from any dirt or dust as it buggers the pumps up and is terrible stuff if you get it on your skin. I shall make a point of not doing that. Now, mystery machine, because David Wylie is waiting in the wings. Here's what you've got to work with. That is our mystery machine of the day. If you can figure that out, I reckon 1 or 2 slides in, somebody is going to get it. But if you've got any clues on what that might be, please shout it from the rooftops. Ken Hatcher says, lots deleting the AdBlue system down here, apparently. Down in Welsh Wales, they are doing away with AdBlue. I'm not entirely sure. Bearing in mind that if you don't have AdBlue in your system, supposedly your machine's going to pack up or shut down. Is that a good idea? Don't really know. Dan Cullen's going for a Volvo A30 ADT. It's not one of those. Never had trouble with AdBlue, but heard a good few stories, says our friend Mick. Okie dokie, people. I'll come back to the mystery machine because we do have, as I've already mentioned, we have a special guest in our midst, and he's here for a very good reason. David Wylie is a journalist, an author, big digger enthusiast, and he's got a new book out. And here he is. Morning, David.
Morning, Mark. Morning, everyone.
We will get to people asking questions about your model collection in the background in just a moment, but I've just mentioned you've got a new book out.
I have indeed, Mark. Here. It's a big beast. Monster book about monster miners.
480 pages, did you say?
It is indeed, yeah. It's much like the last one, and it kind of tries to put the reader in the cab of the machine. You can see there's lots of in-cab shots about driving big Liebherr 980-100s, so and various other bits of equipment. So a Craic Laturno out in Wyoming, so always wanted to photograph one of them, so ace.
The book, I can't remember the exact name of the book, but you do mention in the title it's Europe, Australia and America, right?
Yeah, USA, Australia and Europe.
And you got to all of those to do this?
I did indeed, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The highlight was actually going to America, and obviously on the front cover is a place, Black Thunder Mining, hence the cap. And I saw a picture from Keith Haddock about 10 years ago, very similar to this, and I made my mind up I was wanting to visit that particular mine site then, and so I managed to fulfill my bucket list, and just so happens this P&H 4100 XPB was working there, and as you can see here, that's a 100-foot coal seam, because the boom on that machine is exactly 100 foot to the pulley wheels at the top, and loading a 400-ton Cat 795F haul truck. Just unbelievable. I mean, anyone who's experienced stuff in the UK coal fields will probably see maybe up to 2 meters of a coal seam. That's about 6 feet. This is 100 foot. It just blew me away. Really good. And I've obviously got all the pictures, and it took a year between sort of asking permission to get on site, to getting on site, and then getting some of the reports published. So it's not a 5-minute job either. So I'm really delighted with the book.
I'll come back to the book in just a moment, but we've got this from Gary Muirhead, who says, Mark, as a fellow Scotsman, can you please ask David if he ever got to see or picture the H485D mag that was working at Roughcastle Open Cast Coal Site in Falkirk for coal contractors, weighed 475 tons, or the Bucyrus Erie 1260W walking dragline called Big Murphy, working at Damside Open Cast south of Shotts. It weighed 1600 tons. Did you get to photograph any of those, David?
Well, I didn't actually, but I think it's in my third book or my second book. You see, I've actually got a model over here. Oh, can't work this camera.
It's hard to do that, isn't
it? Yeah, I've got a whole load of photographs from actually the designer from DMAG who actually designed this machine. Who's now retired. He's in his 70s, lives in Germany, and I got a whole load of photographs from him. I mean, photographs of that 485 in Roughcastle were like hen's teeth to find. But I actually managed to track down one of the DMAG engineers, and he gave me a ton load of insight about the machine working, etc. Do you know, back in 1986, they had telematics on that machine. They had strain gauges on it because it was a prototype, and they could actually sit in a little portal cabin and see how well it was working back in 1986. So it was certainly amazing. I mean, that was really the first big proper 500-ton mine machine that actually worked. The one before that was the RH300, but you know, the DMAG 485 was really a success right off the bat. So.
Let's have a look. Steve Williamson says, "Morning, David. Good write-up in Earth Movers last month." Yeah, the two of you got together, I understand.
Yeah, I managed to visit Steve at very short notice, and I know Steve likes to work late, so the pictures in Earth Movers magazine were shot about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, because I rocked up at 5, having been at 2 other job sites. So, but we still got the job done, and Steve was great, and machine was immaculate, and it's such a nice Volvo 140 he's got, just blew me away.
Okie dokie. Jim Turner is saying, a great collection. I think he's referring to your models. My cousin had loads of models when I was a kid because my uncle worked for Caterpillar. Always very jealous. I'm jealous looking at that as well. Dan also likes your cap. I mean, you did mention having a bucket list, which I think for this industry is is a fantastic pun in itself. We were talking about this just the other day, about the idea of actually going and pitching a tent somewhere near an open cast mine or something like that, just to watch the machines. You get to live and breathe that. You get to do that. I mean, for one thing, you know, as a digger enthusiast, that must be absolutely fantastic. But these books, they're a real passion project, aren't they? I mean, to wait a year just to get permission to go and actually see the thing that you need to see, you've really got to be a believer in this, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt, I'm really passionate about writing about large earth moving machinery and earth movers, etc. But I feel the books are just the next stage, and I really kind of call them the director's cut, because actually in Graham Black's review in this month's Earth Mover about the book, he even says that I give him so many pictures and so much detail, there's only so much I can cover. Whereas I've got a bit more scope to cover it in the book. I mean, Earth Movers do a cracking job of laying out all my articles, but the book, as I would say, the director's cut, a bit like a film, you know, when you see it in the movies, is 2 hours, but the director wanted it to be 2.5 hours. So the book really is a director's cut. You've got something like 16 pages instead of maybe 5 or 6 pages in Earth Movers, but it's full of big photographs. But also, if you really want the detail, there's 73,000 words in this book as well, and nearly 500 images. And the thing that kind of makes my book a bit unique as well is that you get a big, if I can get it properly here, oh, wrong way, yeah, you get a big double page image. There's about 80 of them in the book, you know, really close up. I mean, that picture there's got a bit of a story on it. I mean, these pictures aren't just like snaps. I mean, I got a lot of bother, and the guys are excellent. And Steve will probably know this because he's seen me in action. That dozer shot. So the dozer driver just took 5 minutes to create a pile at the side of the machine where he was going to be working, so I could stand on the pile, nice and safe, far enough away from the machine, while he and I agreed where his dozing slot was going to be to get that shot. I mean, they don't take 5 minutes to do these shots, and the book is absolutely full of big action pictures. It takes you close to the action or puts you in the cab. And the other thing as well that I really like in my book is that it kind of captures industrial heritage, because a lot of these sites, you know, we talk about open casts in the UK, well, they're all gone now, but I've got 4 books that have catalogued, you know, some of the important mines, you know, over the last sort of 15 years. So they're kind of a record of our industrial heritage, and not just the machines that work there, but the people who work there, because there's a lot of quotes from managers and machine operators, even in the new book as well, particularly from America, who were quite happy to talk to me about how they feel about their work, their machines, what's great about a big drag line. There's autonomous bulldozers in there as well from Wyoming. So there's a guy in a porter cabin driving 4 dozers. He sets 3 off autonomously, and he's actually driving in the same cat seat that you get in a dozer, actually doing a bit more intricate work with like a ripper and things like that. But he absolutely loves it. He said it's more mentally taxing because you've got to, you know, keep the plates spinning, if you like, with 4 machines rather than just the one. But really likes the job because he's not getting any shocks or having back problems sitting in a dozer, you know, trundling over big rocks, etc. So the whole thing's fascinating. And the other thing that I discovered as well is, although the first production set of autonomous dozers was supplied to a company called Wolf Mining down in Australia, which I covered in my last book, I hadn't realised that Black Thunder actually do a lot of field follow with Caterpillar. So the first actual autonomous dozers working in an actual operation, apart from Caterpillar's test centre in Tucson, was actually at Black Thunder. So Black Thunder helped develop autonomous dozers, and it's all in the book.
I do think, I mean, I've done much the same as you, and some of mine has been video, some of it's been audio, some of it's been books as well. That idea of having the space to do context, you know, when back in my day on Contract Journal, Plant Manager's Journal, and that kind of thing, you know, you go to a site, you report on the site, but there is the whole backstory, as you say, the people, how it came to be, you know, and the industrial heritage. I think that, to my mind, that's where the real value lies. Steve Williamson has asked a question. Well, he's got a couple of questions actually. Where is the best place you visited and just thought, wow?
Well, that would have to be Black Thunder Mine. When I saw that P&H 4100 in the coal seam, never seen anything like it. And, you know, I hoped that I could be able to see that. That was really good. The other place, actually, in my third book was down in Australia. A couple of places. Went to a place just outside Brisbane called Waco. It's Komatsu's large mining repair assembly shop, and was in the workshop in there where they actually build up from crates Komatsu 930E haul trucks. I mean, they're massive. I mean, you see these haul trucks, they are literally bigger than a 3 or 4 bedroom house. It's crazy the size of them, and they're building in these workshops. And I also got to see as well, a bit of my bucket list, I went to see a PC 7000-11 up in Billawheeler to catch a plane for 2 hours, go north, and see that in action. Because when I was at the Komatsu factory in 2012, I was told they were building a PC 7000, but wasn't supposed to be told, so I had to keep it under wraps. So I was at the factory, told about it, and then about sort of 12 years later, I actually got to see this development machine in action. So that blew me away.
Okay, we've got another thing here. Gary Muirhead says, was it David that reviewed the Komatsu D375 Dozel working in Alloa for Patterson Quarries?
It was, but it was a 475 to be honest, and I've done both. So there's the 475-5, which was about 115 tons. So that machine lasted 5 years, and then about 6 months ago, a year ago, Patterson got a 475-8, which, I mean, it's more than just a dash. It's an all-new machine, to be honest. The chassis is different, engine's different, everything's different, track frames are different. It's a whole new machine. And it went up to about 120 ton because Marubeni Komatsu, the dealer, like the last one, had put about 8 to 10 ton of steel on it. Because it works on a silica sand operation. They skinned the blade, they skinned the belly plates of the machine, they put extra reinforcement on the ripper, they put little heel blocks on the final drives as well. And I also did the thing where they put the last 9,000 hour tracks frames, redid the tracks and bogies on the Dash 5 machine just before it kind of gets sold. So yes, in answer, yeah, I've covered that machine quite extensively, and I've actually got an invite to go back out and see it next month because it's due its first 3,000 undercarriage change.
Awesome stuff. Let's have a look. We've got a comment here from Mick Norton. Says the Bucyrus Erie BE 1150 walking drag line oddball. It's just 2 miles up the road from me here in Wakefield. And he goes on to say it's the largest preserved walking drag line in Western Europe. Is that right? Did not know that. We had another question from Steve Williamson. I'm just trying to find it. We'll come back to the book in just a second, but there it is. What is the model that means the most to you? What one would you never part with?
Woof.
They're all your babies, aren't they?
Yeah. Let's see if I can get the right finger pointing this way. This little one here, right above my hat, the Hymac 580, because it's got quite a sentimental attachment because my dad used to drive one.
Good answer.
That's
Good
all
answer.
going to be in the collection.
Absolutely.
But I've got some fantastic models down in this bottom right-hand corner. You can see a big 1/24 scale D11. So that's another nice model. Yeah.
We're going to be talking. Let me bring you back. We're going to be talking D11s in just a moment because they've just delivered the 6,000th model to. It'll come back to me in just a moment, but they've just delivered the 6,000, which is fantastic. I mean, let's face it, it was never going to be a volume machine, but 6,000 since, what would that have been, about 1977, 78, something like that, the D11?
Yeah, I think it's, I did a history on that. So, the D10 started back in about 77, and then a few years later, I just can't remember the years, the D10 morphed into the D11. So it went up a few ton, and the D8 at that time morphed into the D9. So Caterpillar had a bit of a play around with machine weights and model numbers at that point. But yeah, it's a pretty successful big dozer.
I'm going to throw this one up from Gary again. The $1 million question. What got you into this industry and the interest of all plant and equipment?
Yeah, well, as I kind of alluded to earlier, my dad used to drive Hymacs back in the day, and I had a couple of brothers who became plant operators as well. And I think my dad just decided he didn't need another son in the sort of driving machines. So, and I was always kind of mechanically minded. So I became a mechanic. So I did serve my 5-year apprenticeship as an engineer. And then I guess because I didn't become a plant operator, I was always fascinated with them. Like a lot of people as well, I used to read construction news and collect all the posters, etc., from construction news. So I kind of got fascinated from that because my dad's background. And interestingly, one of the kind of things that I've never sort of mentioned because I've been around my book for the last few weeks, etc., but Earth Movers has got a big poster in it I think the first time ever in about 17 years the magazine's been running. And guess what? It's a big D11 from Wyoming, from yours truly. So I've gone from a teenager collecting posters in construction news to having a poster in Earth Movers. How about that?
That's it's weird how these things come about, isn't it? Let's have a look. Steve says you should try to get into Deephaven near Invergordon. Pretty impressive size of the machines. They're loading the big ships with pipelines. More love for the Hymac. Long live the Hymac 580C, says Mick Norton, which I operated many years ago in the army in the early 1970s. Unusually, the cab on the right-hand side. Yeah, I remember somebody mentioning that to me before, actually.
Yeah, I take my hat off to my dad. I mean, I sometimes went out to see him, not very often in site visits, and I always remember it. I mean, these guys back in the 70s, I mean, they were sitting in a machine that luckily, if it had a window that wasn't broken, the heater was under the seat, and it had these big, massive steel levers that were about 3 foot long that, came up. And I bet you'd sore arms at the end of the shift in a 580C. I mean, maybe some of the guys can tell us a bit more that's actually driven them, but yeah, and you were lucky to keep the tracks on them as well. So,
right, let's come back full circle. Let's talk about the book. Obviously, it's out now because you've got one in your hand as we speak. Where do people get themselves a copy?
Yeah, well, they can contact me there on the Facebook sort of website. I've got a dedicated site to my normal Facebook, so it's just facebook.com/earthmovingbooks. You can just send me a direct message from there. All I really need is an address, a phone number, and an email. That's because I use UPS to ship, and without those three things, it just won't go through. And I can then, if it's a UK, it's £9 postage. I don't make in on that. That's just what it costs me, post, pack, and send it. And the book's £38.50 for the book. So it's quite reasonably priced given the content on it as well. I mean, it's a huge printed book full of colour pictures, so it's quite expensive. And it's actually printed in the UK as well, so I'm quite proud it's actually printed in the UK. So yeah, £38.50 for the book, £9 postage in the UK. I can send it. In fact, I've got one downstairs just now. It's going to Peru today, so it gets posted all over the world. So that's why I use UPS. They can just do international posting, and they successfully managed to post out 300 books 2 years ago without missing a single one. So touch wood. Good service as well.
Okay, well, obviously, it's facebook.com/earthmovingbooks if you can take that down. If not, if anyone wants David's details, get in touch with me via the WhatsApp group or anything else. And I've got his email address as well. I am going to say you are preaching to the choir somewhat, because we had that from Mick, who says, "Morning, David. Funnily enough, I ordered your Earth Movers book a week ago." so you need to save your money now, Mick, and get the second one or the third one, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Mick Norton's just said Dave's mention of the big Hymac 580C levers brought back memories. One 580 I was on had a huge hole cut out of the cab door to facilitate the wear on the lever linkages and connections, effectively operating out of the window virtually.
Yeah, it was.
Superb. David, look, I'm going to let you get back to your day job. Really appreciate you being here. Looking forward to seeing the book in person. And yeah, I hope it goes well for you. I'm sure it will, because you have a history of selling these things out. So wish you every success with it.
Thanks very much, Martin. Thanks for inviting me on the show. Yeah, it's just absolutely flying off the shelves. I've already shipped 100 orders, and there's only 300 books. So if anybody's looking for a Christmas present, put your order in quick, because once they're gone, they're gone.
It seems odd to be talking about Christmas presents in July, but I think it's a very good idea, actually.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Brilliant.
David, I'll see you soon, my friend. And good, as I said, good luck with the book.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Cheers now. Right, we're back to the usual stuff and nonsense that we do here. So shall we start with a bit of this? I think, David is still lurking in the background, so I'm going to mention a few of these. Dan Cullen says that's a big book, well worth the money. Well done, David. He says. Mick Norton says thank you, David Wylie. Inspiring. Jim Turner says fair play, David. Fair play indeed. Right. I mean, the machine I'm about to show you is nowhere near as big as some of the stuff that David's been to see, but it's it's pretty large. While you're looking at it, I'd like you to decide whether you believe this Hitachi long front excavator to be hot or not. Have a look.
Welcome to the new Hitachi Xaxis D11 Super Long Front Excavator, created specifically for slope finishing, loading and dredging. Designed using more than 20 years of engineering experience, it will improve profitability, enhance comfort, increase safety and maximize uptime. Let's take a closer look. The first thing you notice about this machine is the long boom and arm, which enable it to dig deeper in water for dredging or reach further on slopes for landscaping than a standard machine. What can you tell us about this Booker?
This machine has got two secrets I want to share with you. Firstly, boom and arm lengths are perfectly matched and balanced with the base machine. And secondly, the boom and arm design and material is a perfect match of strength and flexibility for the extended working range of the machine. It's exceptionally durable, ensuring a reliable performance. Pressure settings of the hydraulics are optimized for deep digging and unloading. As a result, it has exceptional grading, dredging and loading capabilities. And the machine can be positioned close to the truck, optimizing the loading process.
Okay, how does it compare to the Xaxis D11 standard models?
Like the standard ZX300-7, it has a unique Hitachi Trias 3 hydraulic system, which provides a high level of control and allows the Super Long Front to work with exceptional speed and precision. Another benefit of the new hydraulic system is the fuel saving of up to 11% compared to the older version. And the operator can also control fuel efficiency and cost by using the all-new Eco Gauge. You can see the assist piping on boom and arm, which is required by customers to use it for tilting and rotating buckets. And the adjustable pilot control of the hydraulics, which is exclusive to our Super Long Front excavators, that prevents from tipping and assists in smooth operation and better control of the machine.
And let's talk about the end of the boom and arm and what makes this machine so versatile.
You can fit a variety of buckets and attachments to the Super Long Front excavator, making it extremely versatile. Attachments are easily changed using the attachment support system and the LCD monitor.
And tell us about transporting this machine, Booker.
Yeah, it's also easily transported due to its optimized design of boom and arm. So it achieves an optimized height and stability during transit, always in compliance with regulations. By the way, our machine comes with long and narrow undercarriage opening, making it ideal for a variety of working conditions.
Thanks. I can see how all those features would help to improve the profitability. Now, what about the cab of the Super Long Front excavators? Is it as comfortable as the Xaxis D11 standard models?
Yes, for sure. So it has the same industry-leading features in the spacious cab. The heated suspension seat is extremely comfortable, and the synchronized motion of seat and console reduces fatigue. Due to the installation of the new viscous mounts, the cab vibration is reduced by 27% compared to the old version of the cab. Easy operation comes from the new ergonomic design of console and switches and convenient access. And by the way, our cab has the lowest inside noise level in the industry.
Our operators surely feel the difference in the cab. But what about the safety? How do Hitachi Super Long Front excavator improve the safety at the job site?
Firstly, the visibility from the cab is superb, and the aerial angle camera system gives the operator a 270-degree bird's eye view of their surroundings. And with the brighter LED work lights, the operator can work more confidently, safely and productively in challenging working conditions. Secondly, the stability of the machine has been enhanced by the heavier counterweight in line with the robust undercarriage and durable components, offering strong traction. Operators can expect enhanced maneuverability on different types of terrain.
Important. Are there any other safety features?
Of course, one example is the hose rupture valve on boom and arm. If it detects pressure loss, it will close immediately, ensuring operator safety and minimal damage to the equipment.
Finally, let's talk about uptime. How easy are Hitachi Xaxis -7 super long front excavators to maintain?
Maintenance and cleaning is really quick and easy due to wide doors, cover openings, providing easy access to main components and therefore minimizing downtime. Also, most parts of super long front machines are interchangeable with standard Hitachi machines. It also facilitates easy maintenance and ensures maximum uptime.
Thanks, Burkhard. Thank you for watching our walk around of ZX 300-7 super long front machine. This is one of several machines in Hitachi super long front range, which varies from 9 to 49 tons and offers working ranges from 10.5 meters to 22 meters. All set new standards in efficiency, comfort, safety, versatility, and reliability.
I think we can agree that's probably quite hot. I think a few people have said that. Because we've had a guest today, I've sort of kind of thrown the usual playbook out of the window. We do have a question of the day, which I'll remind you of in just a moment. But we need to get back to our mystery machine. I know we've had lots of guesses, none of which have come even close. So that is what you're currently working with. I tell you what, I'll give you a little bit more because we have kept you waiting. That is today's mystery machine. If you can figure out what that is, as I say, I reckon this is a fastest fingers first, particularly as you can now see a bit more of it. Let's have a see. Dan Cullen reckons Hitachi are short of power in comparison to Doosan, Volvo and Komatsu. Steve, was a good chilled out video. That I think that goes back to one of the things that David Wylie was saying about his book. You know, as I was raised. I was raised in the way of the samurai. That's not true. I was raised I was taught to write in 1,000-word bites because I used to write features on construction equipment on Contract Journal and Plant Manager's Journal. My aim was 1,000 words. So you'd come back with potentially 10, 15,000 words, you know, because you'd been talking about, you know, the bits around the machine and stuff like that, but you couldn't use it. 1,000 words used and the rest of it goes into the bin. And I can tell you, I told you it was going to be a fastest fingers first. We've got a winner. We've got a winner on our mystery machine. And I tell you now, it looks, no, that's the wrong button. The machine looks like that. And the person that identified it, yet again, he's absolutely storming ahead at the moment. That is the Bellaz 75710. I'm not entirely sure if it still is, but it certainly was the biggest dump truck in the entire world back in the day, made in Belarus, if I remember rightly, which is hence the name. So Steve Williamson has got another win on the board. Steve, I think you might be about to win this. Yeah, world's biggest at the time, he says. Yeah, I did think it was going to be I think it was one of those things. Once you saw that side panel, I think it was going to be a dead giveaway. So yeah. Fantastic stuff. Jim Turner, go back to the Hitachi. Take that away. Great tool, and the -7 cab is sound. Only downside is the bar below the seat sticks out too far and bangs the back of your legs. You see, even the best equipment manufacturers in the world fail to notice that because we're all weird shapes, aren't we? I'm mainly speaking for myself here. Dan Cullen says, was my next guest, but he got there before me. Yes, Dan, keep telling yourself that, would you? I did mention the fact that we've got a question of the day. I'm about to remind you of it, and it looks like this. Yeah. I think we've done what is your favorite biscuit in the past, but I'd like to know today, what is the worst biscuit. Now, to give you some context, I like to dunk a biscuit into a cup of tea. Often 2 at a time, often more than 1. In my opinion, the rich tea is the king, the undisputed king of biscuits. However, if I've got a nice hot cuppa, I'll happily accept a hobnob or a chocolate digestive, even a malted milk and a push. But if the only remaining biscuit is a custard cream, I would rather go without. And I say that as a person with a notoriously sweet tooth. I would rather skip biscuits entirely if the option is custard creams. But what about you? What, in your opinion, is the worst biscuit? Let us know in the chat. Have we had... There you are. See, not just me. Question of the day, custard cream, useless for dunking and tastes unpleasant as well. Chris Ford... Bonio. God knows why my dog eats them. Nearly broke my teeth trying. Here's a very quick story just to keep the thing going. Does anyone remember the TV show Candid Camera? Kind of the early version of the prank show. They tried to get my mum on it once. She was in a local supermarket, and they had a thing. There was a sign that basically said, sample biscuits, try these biscuits. So people would walk up, they'd take a bite, and then somebody would press a button, and the sign would turn around, and it said free dog biscuits. The implication being you've just tried a dog biscuit. They did that to my mum, but my mum, being the person that she was, eyes in the back of her head, saw the sign spinning and just carried on munching on her biscuit. True story. Steve Williamson. Steve, and there was me thinking you and I could be friends. Rich tea on its own, no thanks. Rich tea on its own, the second greatest biscuit experience in the world. The first being obviously dunked in tea. Question of the day: Mick Norton, Gary Baldies, make a vulture throw up. Might make a vulture throw up. It wouldn't have that effect on me. Love me a dead fly biscuit. Dunked a bonio for my hound once. Ever again. The git bared his teeth at me for a week. Really? My not my male dog, my female dog loves a dunked biscuit. Question of the day: don't know why I've never liked jammy Dodgers. I know. No, I'm with you. It's a fanciness too far. Question of the day: cookies, they fall apart. I dunk sandwich biscuits. Anything dunstable? Anything dunstable? Is that dunkable? I dunk it. Okay, I think that's probably dunkable rather than dunstable. I don't think towns in where is that? That's Bedfordshire, right? I don't think that comes into it. Question of the day: I don't know if it's classed as a biscuit, but fig rolls are the work of the devil. This coming from a man who eats haggis. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love haggis. I love a fig roll too. I think basically the answer to this question is I hate only custard creams. Every other biscuit, more than happy to munch down on one of those. Right, should we crack on? I think we probably should. We'll be back with a bit of Liebherr action in just a moment. So, bucket fill factors. Big deal when you're trying to be productive. If you're a decent operator, you kind of know what you're doing. But if you're not, even if you're not that decent, Liebherr have got the answer, because they've got kind of an onboard assistant that will make every single bucket a full one. Technology, always divisive. Always. Steve Williamson says, I see what they're doing, but if you can't fill your bucket on a thing like that, then you should not be operating something like that. Jim Turner says, nothing wrong with bucket filling. I've mucked at least 3 foot up the stick of the 13-tonner. Reckon I'm already being productive enough. I guess if you're operating a machine of that size, 70, 80, 100 tons or something like that, every single second counts. And particularly when you're thinking, not specifically productivity, although that is a key consideration, but if you're making sure that you are being completely productive and you're reducing your fuel consumption at the same time, I can see where that's coming from. Plus, the bucket wasn't completely full on activated. I wasn't watching that closely, to be perfectly honest. I'll come back to the question of the day in just a moment, but I do want to give you a very quick heads up on a thing. Scottish Plant Operators Challenge is, what is it? It's 16 days away. It's taking place at the Errol Airfield in Perth. PH270B, actually, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you're up in Bonnie, Scotland, you might want to pop along. Is your name on the screen a new thing? Steve, it is, but I'll be honest with you, I was using it mainly for David because he wanted to display exactly where to get his book. But I can turn it off, and I have, in fact, just done so, because I kind of figure you already know who I am at this point. Gary Muirhead says, nice bucket, but nothing like a Scottish build Eurofab bucket. Did you ever hear anything back from them after reaching out? No, I didn't. And I would listen. I was talking to David Wylie off air actually about how he does some of his trips, when he's going to America, Australia, and he tries to cram in as much as he can. And I said I'd do exactly the same. I do need to get myself up to Bonnie, Scotland at some point in the not too distant future. And my plan is to do 2 or 3 things, one of which will be Eurofab. Maybe they'll come back with a different answer once I tell them exactly when I'm going to be there. We shall see. It looks good with it on. Lets new viewers know who's presenting. Yeah. Also lets them know where to find me, though, doesn't it? I'll have a play around. I will have a play around and see how we go with it. We do need to press on because where are we? 50 minutes in, still loads to show you. I did mention the fact that Caterpillar has delivered the 6,000th D11. I'm going to show it to you in a second.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
So maybe this is the way forward, eh? Steve Williamson says, I've got sponsored by Eurofab on their new buckets. Well, when I do need to speak to them, maybe I'll have a word with you first, Steve, and you can tell me the right person to speak to, because I'm barking up the wrong tree at the moment, apparently. They have an impressive workshop. Yeah, I've seen it online, but I'd love to see it in person. Going back to all things biscuit related, I know we had a couple of answers on that. That was one. Those pink wafer things, since Jim Turner, bloody pointless. They go to nothing, don't they? Go to nothing. You can't dunk them in anything. Was there anything? No, I think that pretty much covers it. Let me take that away. Let's talk D11, shall we? Not the biggest, but probably the most iconic dozer in the world. My opinion. Have a look. Really is an amazing tool. If you ever actually seen a D11 close up, It's a marvel. Steve says, "What a beast! Imagine turning up every morning to drive that." Indeed, he's also looks like he's going to be working alongside a somewhat smaller Caterpillar dozer in the not too distant future. Hearing there's a D3 coming to site, be good to see a small one. They can be so versatile. They certainly can. Steve reckons I can speak to the main man at Eurofab on LinkedIn. I'm fairly sure that's where I reached out and got nothing back. Maybe it's me. I once got a very small go on the Thompson's D11 on the M74. Wow, what a beast. Now that takes me back. I remember, sadly no longer with us, my old colleague Adrian Barker back in the day. We were both still at Contract Journal at the time, so this would have been somewhere between 87 and 1990 or thereabouts. And he went up to see Thompson's Apollo purely to see their D11. And he came back mightily impressed. Dan Cullen, I'd love to see one up close. Well, what can I tell you? I wish I had a magic wand to make that happen. It keeps going back to this idea of busman's holidays, doesn't it? Doesn't this put this into context? So, I mean, I can't honestly say how many D11s there have been in the UK over the years. I don't know, a dozen, 20 maybe. You know, David Wylie was talking about the Black Thunder mine and he was wearing the Black Thunder hat. One site, there's 30 of them. 30 D11s in a single place. Good Lord. Let's have a look. I remember it weighed 128 tons. Yeah, they are a big old beast. I think Morris Leslie be having their vintage plant weekend next to or near the Scottish Plant Operator competition at the same time. I think they did that last time, didn't they? Fairly sure they did that. Have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe. Back at it now. Dan Cullen is heading for the door. So while we're doing that, what have we got next? What do we have next? Oh, I know what it is. We're going back to Hillhead. And yes, we are heading back to Hillhead in the company of Sunward. We've already shown you a bit of a look around the stand, but lurking in the corner, not everybody got to see it, I don't think. Lurking in the corner, they had a brand new prototype machine. Here's our friend, was his name Dries? Yeah, something like that. Have a look.
Hello everybody, I'm Hans Dries from Sunward Europe. I'm the product manager for earth moving equipment. Welcome at Hillhead 2024. I'd like to introduce you to the SWE 50 UF, our newest model in the assortment, and it's a value line of the 6-ton machine. We have the new 7-inch instrument panel with flow control for the auxiliary one pipe. The machine is not yet certified, but we are doing already tests now, and we like to display it at the fair already. The ideal customer are especially rental companies. What makes this machine different is that it's a value line, so it will have a little bit less options, which is more interesting for the rental companies.
My apologies to Hans Driesen. His name's not Dries, obviously. We shot that a few weeks ago and my memory is terrible. Gary Muirhead has just asked, will you be going to the Morris Leslie Vintage Plant Show, Jim? Will you, Jim? Are you listening? Will you be going up for that? Is anybody going to the Scottish Plant Operators Association Challenge? Is anybody taking part? Anybody popping along? Love to hear from you. My good friend Garth from Cat D11 is selling Sunward in Scotland, getting some good feedback from his customers. We brought you a video the other day of a guy called Joe Baton, who is one of the Sunward dealers down in the Midlands, and we filmed him and we had a good chat to him. But while we were getting the camera prepped, I was talking to him, and I think he actually said on film, early doors it was very, very tough going, trying to convince people that Chinese machines weren't going to fall apart or rust in the first fortnight and stuff like that. But they've gained traction now. They really have. And listen, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I have some admiration for the Sunward brand. I think they're doing what they're doing very well. One of the things I found interesting with that, The Chinese manufacturers are notorious for doing very, very good value machines. For good value, read cheap. That one is going to be even cheaper still. That is value engineered. Less options, but less cost. I wonder what that's going to come in at in terms of pounds, shillings, and pence. Jim Turner, in response to Gary, says, "No, Gary, I'm not too busy and too broke." I know the feeling. Had another. Oh, thank you very much indeed. David Wylie has just sent me a message with the owner of Eurofab. Yeah, Derek McAlody. I'm sure that's the guy I've reached out to, but heard nothing back. It might be me. It probably is me. I'm not going to hold it against him. It's almost certainly down to me. Everybody, I think that's going to do us for the main part of the show. I'm going to go back and have a look through the chat in just a moment. So let me roll the outro, post the question. Not the post the question of the day. Yeah, Steve Williamson says that's him. That is definitely the guy. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second. If you like to stick around and have a chat, please do so. If you can't stick around, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. I'll see you again very, very soon indeed. We'll be back with the Craic immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. That sounds about right. There we go. Awesome stuff. Who would have thought? A broke Scotsman? That's a first. Who said he was broke? Jim Turner. Jim Turner's not a Scot. Jim's from that weird hinterland around about sort of Nottingham, Staffordshire way. Couldn't understand a word he said, to be perfectly honest with you. Right, okay, let's go back through the chat. Good Lord, loads of it today. That was our question of the day. What is the worst biscuit? We've got lots of answers on that. Steve Williamson missed last night's show, which was a damn show because, as I say, Steve, you did come up in dispatches. We mentioned you a couple of times as it happens, but the show is over on it's wherever it played. So it's on Facebook, it's on Twitter, it's on LinkedIn, it's on Instagram as well as of this morning. So if you want to go back and watch it, very, very good 40 minutes. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I wanted to keep it as close to 40 minutes as I could, and we only overran by 2 or 3 minutes. I actually felt that was too tight. I think somewhere between 45 and 60 minutes is probably the sweet spot. The Caterpillar show at 2 hours was great. I had great fun doing it, but I think that was overkill. That's asking a lot of people to give up 2 hours of their evening, middle of the week. I think 40 minutes, I mean, I could still be talking to Bill and Anna now because, Volvo have been doing so much innovation of late. I would love to have continued conversation. But obviously had to go and watch the footy. Am I happy about it? Well, obviously, England making another final. Yeah. Should they have had a penalty? No. Am I impressed by their performance? No. Do I think Gareth Southgate's a good manager? No. Do I think we're going to win it? No. No, none of those things. Loads of guesses on the Mystery Machine. Just to remind everybody, as I was asked, there you are, I would like to apologise to anyone I have not yet offended. Please be patient. I will get to you soon. Let's have a look. Loads of stuff on AdBlue, but nobody seems to be saying that AdBlue is actually causing machine breakdowns. Obviously talking about crystallization and the fact that it's not a particularly nice substance to deal with, but nobody's actually saying anything about machines actually breaking down. Did I cover all of these? Mick Norton says, 5 years ago, my son used a version of AdBlue that was not recognised by Mercedes. It invalidated his warranty. Do you know, that's something that occurred to me. First time, because I've traditionally had petrol cars, much the same as David Taylor was saying on that podcast, because I've traditionally had petrol cars, I kind of came to the AdBlue party late. And I was actually driving back from JCB. The light came up on the dash, said, you need some AdBlue. And I went into the first service area, got myself a carton, bag, container of AdBlue, wanged it in the car, the light went off and all was good. And I was driving along and it suddenly occurred to me, was that the right gear? are the makers of the car getting all upset when I take it back in for service? Didn't come to anything, but it did make me wonder. Let's have a look. Mick says, only glad my grandsons are not watching this. They would drive me mad wanting David Wylie's cupboard. Yeah, I bet they would. Yeah, I think we'd probably have to ban him, wouldn't we? Got a feeling if David Wylie came on for the Mystery Machine, no one would get a look in. So Steve and Dan, forget your scores. Yes, he does know his machines, doesn't he? I actually think I've covered almost all of this. Ah, yes, there's a one. If you want to watch long reach excavators operated to the highest standards, go to a land and water site. I've been to a few land and water sites. Back in the day, I don't know if that was their head office, but they certainly had an office over in Dorking. Probably, I don't know, as the crow flies, 4 or 5 miles up the road. And I went there, and one of the things that I do remember very, very distinctly, they had an office there, you know, I don't know, half a dozen people, but it looked out onto a trout lake. I'm not a trout fisherman myself, but it was a lovely place to be. It really was fantastic. Apparently Steve Williamson going to have a new Hitachi for Balmer. Looking forward to seeing that. I didn't think there was much wrong with the old one, to be perfectly honest, but looking forward to seeing the new one. Let's go down to the end of the chat. I saw this. I see Ford are bringing back the Capri as an EV only. Have you seen it? Looks nothing like a Capri, or certainly not a Capri that I remember. It looks more sort of Jeepy, not a Capri at all. What was the Leary one? There was it a GT? I know my mate Bruce had one. That was scary, particularly with him at the wheel. To get the AdBlue to work, you knock off the auto idler and keep a flat out. On a car, drive it at 2,000 RPM up a motorway continuously. Did they tell you that on the wrapper? I bet they don't. It would never happen. But the manager should have told Kane to sky that ball. No way should that have been a penalty. No, you're right. It shouldn't. And listen, you know, there's a bit of me that thinks, yeah, you know, we're in a final, and you know, I realise football is full of sort of cheating and simulation and all that kind of stuff, but I'd rather win fair. And the thing that really did it, I mean, I'm not a Harry Kane fan at all. I actually think he's a terrible, terrible player. And unfortunately, I think Gareth Southgate has built an entire team around that terrible player, which is why we play such dreary, dreadful football. But the thing that did it for me last night, Ollie Watkins' goal, fantastic, but Harry Kane, I've broken my foot. This damn Dutchman has broken my foot. I've got bits of tendons all over the shop. I've got a penalty. Right, I'll get up and use exactly that foot to take the penalty with. Yeah. Metatarsals as far as the eye can see. Got a penalty. I amended. Yes. You had a Capri 3-litre S, or it was a 2.8 injection. That's what my mate Bruce had. 2.8 injection. The new Mustang. Oh my God, what the hell happened? What did happen? I'll need to go and look that one up. Mick says Rice was crap. Best day's work. West Ham done getting shot at him. Do you know it's a weird one. He's one of the few players that has ever left West Ham that I kind of wished well. Because he had been a fantastic servant for us, and I did think he was a very good player, and I genuinely believed he was too good to be playing for West Ham. He was basically carrying the entire team. First couple of performances for Arsenal, I had question marks, and then he seemed to hit his stride. Have to agree, he's been absolutely terrible for England, but I actually blame the manager. The thing that, if you're not into football, I apologise, I'll get over this in just a second. The thing that made Declan Rice what Declan Rice was, he was like Steven Gerrard. He came onto the ball at 100 miles an hour and he only knew one direction of travel, and that was forwards. Gareth Southgate has taken him to one side and said, no, forwards is yesterday's fashion. You must go sideways or backwards. And that's exactly what he's done. That's the problem on most sites. Operators don't take the machines out of eco mode and sit idling for a lot of time, says Dan Cullen. If anybody can back that up, I'd love to hear from you. Dan says, was a very good show last night. Enjoyed it. Didn't even watch the football. Thank you. Can anyone tell me where I can buy a Spanish flag? Do you know, it was funny. I don't know if anybody picked up on this. The show last night, before we actually went on air, I was talking to Bill Law. I'm sure everybody picked up on the fact that he is a native of Scotland. But he's a native of Scotland. He works for a Swedish company and he lives in the Netherlands. So before we went on air, I mentioned the football. He said, "Oh yes, I'll be watching." And I said, "Should I ask who you'll be cheering for?" And he said, "It's probably best if you don't." So I think they were flying the orange flag in Bill Law's house last night. There you are. Jim Turner, I'm no Scotsman. Mick says, "Oh well, I thought he was up north." Sorry, mate. Yeah, I mean he's north of the Watford Gap, which basically makes him a Scotsman. I see where you're coming from for that. Mick says Trippier was crap as well, but a win is a win, and they're not doing my blood pressure much good. Listen. I'm a West Ham fan. I happen to live in England, but I'm a West Ham fan, and I do like football played properly. And in this tournament, the only people playing football to any degree that I think is exceptional has been Spain. If there is any justice in the world, Spain will win purely based on the quality and dynamism of their football. But I've got a horrible feeling that dull as dull can be, England might just pinch it. Chris says, was there a game of football last night? Yeah, oddly enough. And Steve says, now we'll never stop hearing it's coming home. You know, if it does come home, are we then done with that? Do we need, will they re-record it and say it's coming home again? But trust me, Steve, I know you're up in Bonnie, Scotland. As an Englishman, I'm bored with It's Coming Home. I thought it was funny the first time around, but you know, what are we now? 30 years on? Not so funny anymore. Right, people, that's going to do us. Where are we today? It's Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, we're back tomorrow. We've got another packed show for you tomorrow, so lots and lots to talk about. Okay. So, David Wylie, who is still lurking in the chat, has just said, can Mick Saunders please DM me as I can't find his message from last week. So, Mick, if you would like to drop your details over to David Wylie about your book, please do that. And David also said it was a 2.8 injection Capri. It was indeed. If it does, I'm throwing my phone up. We'll never hear the end of it. Most mechanics I talked to said the same thing about AdBlue. Don't override a machine. Work them flat out for at least 2 hours a day. Knock off auto idler as it needs to blow the temperature up. There you are. And keep the pumps working. This show is nothing but an education, is it? Everybody, go and do your thing. If you... there you are. Mick Saunders has just said, or Mick has just said, oh, excuse me, frog in my throat. Will do. I started to follow him on his site. So David Wylie, Mick, David Wylie, go do your thing. Make sure you get your book. I'm sure you will enjoy it. That's going to do us. I'm going to take my wife to my daughter's house, go and visit the grandchildren, and then I've got to prep tomorrow's show. So between now and then, don't do anything I wouldn't do, which should leave you plenty of scope. Can you ask David if his book has any pics of Coco's 241 in it? David?
Yeah.
Does your book have any photos of Coco's 241 in it?
Is that a DMAG 241?
I'm not entirely sure. That one's come completely out of left field as far as I can see. Although he may have mentioned that earlier on. It was in the East Midlands, apparently. I can't sort these by commenter. Just trying to find his original.
It's not in the new book, but I'm pretty sure it's in book number 3 because I did a history of the DMAG from the 241 through the PC 4000, and there was a whole bunch of 241s working in the British opencast scene then.
that would probably explain it. I'm just trying to find his original comment, but I can't see it here at all. No, I can't see it. But where are we? Jim, obviously you've got David's details now. Ah, there we are. It belonged to David McCallum first, then NSM, then Coco's. It looks like it's something you may have photographed, but you've got David's details. Have a word. And Mick has just said, shit. Just looked and I ordered it from Amazon and says it's a Kindle. We'll get straight on to you, David. So you can resolve that amongst yourselves, people.
Yeah, I don't do Amazon. I don't do Kindles. They're only available from me. So, oops. Hope I can help you out.
Okie dokie. Well, obviously you guys are in touch now. So
Yeah.
David, thanks ever so much for your company today. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the book. Hope you can get our friend Mick sorted out. Everybody, I will see you on the morrow. Not you, David. I mean, you're welcome, obviously, but probably not you. But everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.